I love this teaching so much. Changed my life. That's kind of a catchphrase. Every product's going to change your life, right? You know. This does, actually. Some of us relate to it as before Science of Mind and after Science of Mind, and comparing the way we perceive the world. Completely different. Some of it was innate, but we had forgotten it. And when we heard the words spoken about this teaching, suddenly we remembered. It was a sense that we knew this already. It's uncommon sense. A friend of mine who first heard about this teaching, someone explained it to him, and he said, "Oh, that's just common sense, isn't it?" And that person said, "No. If it were, we'd be living in a very different world." If this teaching, the universal principles that consciousness creates, form, and experience, that the individual mind is a co-creator with an universal intelligence, and it operates through us by means of us, can you imagine how different this world would be? If we knew that our natural self is whole, complete, healthy, whole, vital, vitalized center of God's consciousness, if we knew that God was not a man in the sky, but an ever-alive presence in everything that lives. Ernest Holmes said, God makes everything out of itself by becoming the thing it makes. That's a very powerful statement. I repeat it a lot because that's one that got me when I was new to this teaching. God makes everything out of itself by becoming the thing it makes. Well, what does that mean? That I am. That I'm an individualization of it, a personification of it. And as such, I am here to reveal what it is individually. That's one of the secrets of the ages. That's one of the most profound truths there is. And we just toss it off here like it's nothing because we're used to it. But it is not common sense. What is common sense tells us that life is hard and then you die. Common sense tells us that life is a struggle, that you have to work hard, kick your nose to the grindstone if you ever want to prosper, that most people never make it. Common sense says relationships don't usually work out. They're hard. You gotta work at it. Nothing comes easy. Common sense tells us that health is a win-some, lose-some proposition, and that it's almost impossible to raise a child these days. You know, Socrates complained about the same thing.
Yeah.
You remember that quote from Socrates about kids these days?
Yeah.
And every generation says that. Okay, that's common sense. It's not very wise. Wisdom is another matter. Several years ago, I was doing an interim ministry for a center that needed a minister. They'd been out without one for quite a while. And so outside teachers came in to teach them, workshop with them about what is the one quality you want in your new minister. I wasn't present, but I heard about it the next day, and they had chosen love. Well, that would seem like common sense. We want our minister to be full of love. And I said to them, it wasn't a popular remark, by the way. I said, I would have chosen wisdom because wisdom contains love. But human love doesn't always contain wisdom. I am living proof of that, right? We've all had some experiences with human love that were less than wonderful. But when we are wise, we see through appearances and we're able to choose differently. Wisdom comes from within. Common sense is about observing the outside world, looking at the news, statistics, actuarial tables. It's all about out there. That's where common sense is for. Well, this happened, so that must be right about that. But wisdom comes from within. It's intuitive. It can be guidance. It's an innate knowing. It's such a deep well of understanding. We have a name for it, wisdom. But really it's our natural state. And it has been covered over by years of false teachings and false beliefs and craziness. But when we start really practicing the principles of this teaching, we start to uncover ourselves. It's more of an unlearning, isn't it? It's getting back to what we were born knowing. Because everybody knows this before they're born. That's one of the reasons we came here, just to express it, to express spirit. That's a whole other talk. We won't go there today. Love is better than hate. That's wisdom. Wisdom knows that. Wisdom knows that moderation is a pretty good path to follow in this life. That nature knows what she's doing, and wisdom trusts nature. But here's the big one. Wisdom says, yes, Mr. Einstein, the universe is friendly. That was his big question. Is the universe friendly? And how we answer that dictates how we live. Now, if you look at the universe scientifically, you see comets and exploding novas and black holes sucking up whole star systems and things running into meteors running into other planets. And so we say, oh, it's hostile. It's just nature doing its thing. That's the visible creative process that we can observe. But life itself is for us and never against us. Ernest Holmes said that, and it's true. It is not hostile. The universe is friendly. So can we answer that today? Can we say, yes, the universe is friendly? All right, that's something we really, really need to know. Wisdom may not be common sense, but it is good sense. It is the sense that we live in a field of love, intelligence, like love/intelligence. One thing, masculine, feminine. Both have equal power, both have equal purpose. And when they're in balance in the human consciousness, we have a very different world than we had now. Because now the feminine is missing, has been for a long time. But we are all of both. We have both of the energies. Remember, there's one Genesis version that says, let us make them in our image and likeness. So male and female, actually it's masculine, feminine. So wisdom wants to circulate everything. Wisdom wants everything to be balanced and fair and harmonious, and that's what the masculine and feminine is seeking to happen in our world. That's what's happening in the world right now. It really is the effect of the toxic masculine attempting to push the feminine back into suppression. And we're talking about spiritual consciousness, not men and women. Okay? They act it out, but it's a bigger energy that's happening. You know, we have been, Koyaanisqatsi, Native Americans say, out of balance for a very long time. So that's what's happening. And so for you and I to participate wisely in that, we need to recognize for ourselves when we are out of balance with one or the other and bring ourselves back into harmonious connection with both aspects of our nature, the feminine and the masculine. Wisdom wants to circulate everything because it knows that money, love, joy, peace, ideas, time, talents, everything is meant to be shared and circulated. You know, I feel like when we're giving intentionally and consciously, that's the highest interaction with spirit we have. That is when we are really exemplifying the truth that we are one with that spirit, that it is being us in some way. Because Ernest Holmes says this, he says, we must identify with the lavish and relentless givingness of this universe. It's constantly circulating and pouring itself in and out of forms through the advent of consciousness. So our giving is a sacred act. And that means circulation, participation, being one with things and participating in them. That's how we generate prosperity, is by circulation and prosperity. And participation. So it is the ultimate in trust. When we trust that which I give is multiplied and returned to me so that I might continue to express spirit in this way. Wisdom says there ought to be, I'm sorry, I don't want to go there. Another talk. I just edited myself. We might ask ourselves, am I wise in the way I use money? That's a good thing to consider. Am I wise in the way I use money? Am I using it to participate in life in the greater level, to circulate my good? Am I proving the lavish and relentless givingness of the universe by means of me? Does wisdom guide my reactions to other people, especially my significant other? Or am I responding from ego or reacting from ego needs? Wisdom sees through that. I think of my grandmother. She used to say, just count to 10 before you react to that. It's a spiritual advice, isn't it? Just stop. Don't say it, but count to 10. And then see what comes from your soul, from your heart. Because your soul and your heart are never negative. They are always loving and giving and kind and as uplifting and inspirational, always. Wisdom gives. It doesn't take. It circulates and is part of the prosperity vibration. It's wise to forgive, to release old ideas, to start from source again and again. My old friend Michael Beckwith does a big work in LA. In his first book, he wrote, and I consider all of us here evolved. He said, evolved people rush to forgive first. That's a big one. Before anything else, as it happens, the slight, the insult, whatever it is, forgive it now. Let it go now. Don't carry anything with us. Evolved people hang on to nothing that would limit their next experience of love or joy or peace or prosperity or vitality. Uncommon sense tells us that our life is lived from the inside out, and other people do not define us. How many of us have figured that one out? It's not easy, is it, when you live in a world of other people, and they react to you, and they say things to you, and now in the world of social media, oh my gosh, you don't want to be well known. Believe me. Everybody has an opinion. So who you are and what you should be doing next. It's just the way it is. So, but they don't define that. And I know from listening to celebrities talk about how they've been attacked online, many of the wise ones say, I've stopped reading it. I just go back into myself and I know who I am. I'm not defined by uncle's remarks. And that's something we need to do too, is reclaim our self-identity. So a life is lived from the inside out. It starts here, proceeds in this direction. So we ask ourselves, what am I holding on to that seems like common sense to do? It seems like common sense to protect yourself if you've been hurt in relationships, right? It seems like common sense, but it isn't. If we were able to just step away and let it go and affirm our identity is intact, we are as worthy of love as we've ever been, and that there is a right relationship for us, and we know it when we see it. You keep affirming and treating your mind about this thing, rather than just holding on to it, and what will happen is we'll repeat it. The same energy will show up in our life, and that's true of anything. So one of the great realizations is we don't need to protect ourselves because life is for us and not against us. We don't need to protect ourselves. We need to be clear about what we expect in this life. And so we ask ourselves, besides what am I holding on to, what do I think I need to be me? Well, wisdom says you're whole and complete as you are. You can add things to you, but they don't change its value. This is important. So many people accumulate things thinking it makes them a better person, makes them more beautiful, makes them more attractive, makes them more desirable, whatever it is, but it's not true. In prosperity classes, sometimes people say, well, what about billionaires? So what about them? But why do you have an issue with billionaires? And the truth is, there are a lot of people with a lot of money who have a very strong lack consciousness. And that's why they can't get enough. If you can't get enough of anything, you're coming from lack. But prosperous people don't have to amass and store up and hoard. Prosperous people circulate and move it. It keeps moving. Life is a dance. It's all about movement, right? So we're not to say, if I were really more spiritual, I'd be more prosperous. know, I'd be rich. That's not necessarily true. As long as we are moving in this life, having what we need before we even know we need it, that's what Jesus said, before they call, I will answer. Before the need arises, the need will be fulfilled. This is what it means to be conscious of the good is already at hand. And so we never feel that gap. There's no gap between desire and fulfillment. Not really. It plays out in time and space, but there's no real gap. It's already ours. What we need to be ourselves, we already have. That's wisdom speaking. I'm going to do something different today than I have in the past because of the topic. And you'd be thinking about this. At the end of this, whatever it is, I'm going to open it up to questions and see if you have something has perked in you while I was speaking and you would like to know more about it. Because it's hard, like sometimes people have a real burning question and then they'll try to corner me out there when everybody else is talking. It just is not a good way. So be sure to think of anything you want to ask and I'll answer you right here. When we're trapped in false beliefs, it's like being on a merry-go-round that we can't get off. You remember in grade school, that thing that went around and you stood up and held on to it? And then there was always some bully that started doing this, and he couldn't get off, and kids would start falling. And life can get like that. Life can get like that if we're not being wise in the use of our mind and the use of our self-expression and in our beliefs. So wisdom says, listen to your heart, spend time daily with your inner self, talk to the universe, ask questions, wisdom will answer. The one thing I learned about this teaching early on, and I said this last time I would say, is that the universe is somehow responsive to us. That's the thing. See, there's no man out there that answers prayers. The whole system is one of cause-effect. The whole system is one of call and response. The whole system is one of the invisible becoming visible, ideas taking form. That's what the whole universe is like that. So if we can ask questions, we can ask for an answer, and the answer will pop up because we are one with it. Back at the turn of the century, we were with the Dalai Lama. As G.M. Houston said, Your Holiness, what is the most important thing for humans to know at the turn of the century? And he said, the fact of our oneness with everything, with each other, with nature, with the universe. We are not separate. The separation is an appearance designed to give us an individualized expression, but we are not separate. So the universe withholds nothing to the one who enters into a relationship with it. And that means the unseen, the not yet known realm of experience, of potential. And we sit in its presence and we ask for guidance and it will come. Ernest Holmes said, I picked up the Science of Mind book today and just turned it randomly to a page, and I think it was page 127 that I wrote down. It said, when we know we are one with God and law, what a great burden is removed. Any sense of opposition is removed if we perceive unity. It is presence and principle, spirit and law. And when spirit acts, it acts as law. And just beautiful law. That's on page 127. Ernest Holmes said, he was asked, I cannot imagine God not caring. And he said, I cannot either, but we are dealing with law. So it's not whimsical, it doesn't play favorites, it doesn't teach lessons, it doesn't intervene. It does what it is asked to do by responding. It responds to us by corresponding to our highest idea, our highest knowing. And then he went on to say, Dr. Holmes, does electricity care whether it cooks dinner or burns down a house? Whether it warps a saint or electrocutes a criminal? Does the urge which impels people to express care whether we kneel in ecstasy or lie drunk in the gutter? It does not care. It cannot, because God acting becomes law. In other words, if it didn't, we could not have an individualized experience. We would all have the same experience all the time. The universe would go off. It would shut up. This is the individuality and self-expression is the way we keep everything moving forward. It's the way evolution happens. It's the way the species evolves, is by individuals expressing. Okay, so he said, when we are dealing with law, when the presence acts, it is law. That is uncommon sense to know that. So on page 52 of the Science of Mind book, I read this in every class. I've been teaching these classes for 4 years, and I read this to every class I teach in the beginning because it's so funny. It's about the law. People say, I don't believe in the law. You get all that. He said, if we believe that it will not work, it really works by appearing to not work. When we believe it cannot and will not, then according to the principle, it does not. But when it does not, it still does. Only it does according to our belief that it will not. This is our own punishment through the law of cause and effect. We do not enter in because of doubts and fears. It is not punishment imposed upon us by the Spirit of God, but an automatic result of failing constructively to use its laws. And so this is one way that people get tripped up when they start this teaching, is they have a really hard time getting rid of the old God concepts of somebody apart from us answering our prayers. And the thing is, every football team prays before, but only one win, right? Why are some prayers answered and others aren't? It has to do with belief, not the source. It has nothing to do with spirit, nothing to do with God. It has to do with expectation, with belief. People are praying right now all over the world, and their prayers are not being answered because they are only effective if the person believes it. You see, the prayer does not change God, it changes us. The purpose of spiritual mind treatment, which is the class I'm going to start teaching next week, the purpose of spiritual mind treatment is to bring our mind into alignment with truth. Because when we're facing a limitation, we're out of alignment. We're believing something less than what's true. This is very, very important and very powerful. It's supposed to start the class next week, and if you want to know more about it, I'll answer your questions either now or after. So anybody have a burning question? Anything you would like me to comment on or clear up? Don't be shy. Yes.
Hey, what about the law of karma? I don't see a lot about that in Science of Mind.
Well, karma is just effects of a previous cause. It comes from India, primarily, as a way of explaining why some people are born less than others in appearance. And they just said, it must have been in a past life. So we don't teach karma. We say you can change it. Because spiritual mind treatment, the purpose of it is to set up a new cause, a new series of cause and effect, thereby just eliminating the karmic.
So in a sense, this teaching is working on the right side of the law of karma, you could say.
That's one way to put it, working on the right side of the law. It's working with a very active awareness of the law, that I am dealing with something neutral that responds to me as I respond to it. So my best ideas tend to come into fruition. Not because of karma, because I'm setting up the cause right now. And it's never too late. You can do it at any time. Because there's a wholeness matrix in us. Let me answer your question? Yeah. All right, so we'll close with the treatment. And I'm going to just give you a brief sense of the steps. We begin by recognizing that this spirit is all there is, that it is everywhere present, all at once, all the time, all of it. Never withdrawing, never withholding, and it has no opposition. There aren't two powers, there's one power. And that power is being each one of us. It is the love of our heart. It is the joy of our soul. It is the clarity of our mind. It is the I am that we are. And that power and that presence moves through us as law, bringing about our individualized expression of it. And so we are here to reveal all that Spirit is. Love and joy and peace and vitality and supply and creative intelligence. All those things are the spiritual DNA, the building blocks of human experience. And so today we leave here grateful for knowing a bit more about who we are, for allowing our mind to remain open and aware that there's something wonderful happening right now through me, by means of me, and I am able to name it. I say, I am love in action. Let's say that out loud. I am love in action. I am prosperity on the move. I am joy. I am peace. I am present here and now, completely whole. All is well with me. And so it is.